Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so there is quite a bit of bright light shining on me. Hopefully that's not going to ruin the video, but we are finally here with the final guide 746. And as always, we're going to go through every single path, suggest the best options and all of that other good stuff. However, this time I will not be discussing the boss, the Kang fight, because I already have uploaded a full guide for that. So instead, I will leave a link in the video description below to the Kang fight guide. I have been told it's quite a good guide, apparently. So I definitely do recommend watching that one. However, I still have all of the, obviously, the write-ups for the path identities and everything else written out here. So if you are in a rush, check them out here. These are basically the champions that I use, the champions that I think can work. I'm not saying these are the only and the best options, but this is basically what worked for me or what I think would work. I will be bringing this write-up back throughout the video just to refer to, so you can take a screenshot now or later, it's up to you, but let's break it down. So we can start with this first path on the left side, and that is the Paradox Knockdown, which is the best path ever because it involves stun lock. You can literally stun lock this entire lane using any champion that has guaranteed stun on either level 1 or level 2. So for me personally, it was unlimited fun with iHulk, but you can use Ultron, Hulkbuster, Hercules, Starkin and Spider-Man, Gambit, Ronan, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other champions. Only thing you need is a guaranteed stun on either level 1 or level 2 or both as well, why not? And that's it. I have a specific separate video showcasing exactly how it works, but the base idea is that you need to knock down the opponent initially X amount of times based on which champion you use, and then you can just basically go ham and consistently stun lock them. Nothing much to it. Next one, we have Smorgasbord. This lane's quite annoying, but thankfully we also have Foresight to help us with our damage increase. The base idea here is every 30 seconds you need to inflict 10 debuffs on the opponent. And it's quite easy to do with majority of the champions, but it's really easy to do with few specific champions. And all of those debuffs get purified. However, when the timer expires, they do take a degeneration passive. And that's kind of how it's meant to work. If you do not have 10 debuffs placed within 30 seconds, they do gain a very significant regeneration buff, which obviously is quite annoying. So what do you need to know about this node? Apocalypse can absolutely bypass this entire thing and work magically. So Apocalypse is actually a very good counter for this lane. Then we have White Magneto pre-fight that you can use to always land your parry stun, because your parry stuns otherwise get purified and make the fights easier for you. So White Magneto is also a very wonderful option. For me personally, Sunspot and Black Widow Deadly Origins just absolutely destroyed this entire thing. Sunspot obviously places a debuff or 2 or 3 on every single hit, so it was extremely easy. Plus, on top of that, you keep having your Incinerates purified, so he gains extra power, so you can activate more special attacks. And then with Foresight, 200% Fury, he can drop some major special attacks. Additionally, Captain America Infinity War, if you have a couple of different classes with you, will inflict plenty of debuffs as well. Warlock does not necessarily inflict the debuffs, but Warlock will keep on his infection on the opponent, so he can shut down the regeneration. Then we have Null, and I'm sure there are plenty of other champions that work quite well. You just kind of want debuff heavy and friendly champions for this lane. Then moving on to the next one, and where is the teleporter to that? Here we are. And this next one actually sounds annoying, looks painful, but is extremely fun. I had some filthy amount of fun with Mojo, I believe, on this one. So it's Superiority, Underdog, Swing and Miss, and Diversion, Supercharge, and Mystic Ascendancy. Now, in reality, if you want, you can completely ignore all of them, more or less. There is going to be this diversion where every 15 seconds, one of the champions is going to get affected with Falter, either you or your opponent. If you are far away from your opponent, then the opponent gets Falter. If you're being very aggressive and are close to the opponent, then you get Falter. So in order to completely basically ignore all of the nodes, you either just bring in a champion that bypasses Miss, or just, you know when to keep your distance from opponent, and you can use any champion. You can bring in Archangel for these spiders or whatever you want. Or you can play into the nodes and have some fun because of this node right here that is swing and miss. Whenever the defender is suffering falter and misses the attacker gains a fury buff, giving you 25% attack increase. And if you have superiority, then these furies are indefinite. So you can really get some jacked up mojo with like 20 furies or something like that by the end of the fight. So it's up to you how you approach these fights. If you do want to play with the nodes, then you will need Science and Mystic champions on your lane, which would be, again, Doom, Claire, Sorcerer, Diablo, Sigil, Eyebomb, Void, Mr. Fantastic, Ham. Or you can just ignore the node, bring your Hercules, Archangel, Magneto, and your biggest, strongest champions, and you can just, easily play around the nodes. You don't have to do what Kabam tells you. Always remember that. You don't have to do what Kabam wants you to do. Then here we have the next lane, which again is actually doable by any champion, because once you land your first 5 hits, so the base idea is here that you use tech champions with armor ups. Every time you parry, then opponent will lose a bunch of power and you're going to get fury and you're going to do much more damage. And obviously that's like the easiest way how to deal with these fights. However, we have Immovable Object, where as soon as you land 5 hits on your combo meter, it gives you a steadfast buff, allowing you to block 1 unblockable hit, right? And then you can use that steadfast buff to land a parry. As soon as you land a parry, you will get an armor up buff because of enhanced parry armor up. And then you can just basically, parry a lot and get more steadfast charges, get more parries, and live on happily ever wrecking face. Obviously, it is much easier if you already start the fight with an armor buff and parry a lot to a point where opponent can never basically use a special attack. That's how I prefer to play this lane. I parried, parried heavy, then parried quite a lot to a point where opponent never used a single special attack. With Warlock, with Hulkbuster, and Ultron, Nimrod, Guillotine 2099, Guardian, Silver Centurion, Howard the Duck, all are phenomenal options. Any tech champion, truth be told, because you can still do the first 5 hits, get an armor, get a steadfast charge on Ghost, and, then parry and get an armor up on Ghost. So any tech champion here will work, get extra damage, and do just fine. When it comes to the opponents, you have Mr. Sinister, Modok, Bishop. So it is much better to use techs with armor ups as my recommendation. Right, now we're going to be moving on to the right side on path number 5. And that I wrote up as, which one? Is it Paradox Special? Yes, Paradox Special. Use a special attack, gain a charge. If you parry, you lose a charge. But the cool thing is that you can be basically as aggressive as you want to be, because whenever you use a special attack, you will pretty much drain all of opponent's power. So long as you can drop a special attack, you don't have to worry about pushing opponent's special 3. And then obviously if you have access to something like stun, you're going to have even more fun. Now, opponent does have this abreast node that gives him a bit of power every 15 seconds or so, but given how much he will be power draining, it really isn't a problem. Realistically, you can use virtually any champions on this lane. You can have a ton of fun with Hercules. I did. Bring in Dr. Doom, Hyperion. If you want, bring in Archangel, Kitty, Claire, Nick Fury, Ghost. Basically, just use the best champions that you have, and you will be rewarded with an opportunity to play extremely aggressive. There is nothing restrictive on this path at all whatsoever. Now, this lane, however, is going to be a bit trickier. This lane has buff synthesis, fury, precision, but you don't have to use this node. It's just there meant to help you to deal with persistent pressure, where every 15 seconds the defender gains an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds, and then duration of this buff is reduced by half a second for each prowess buff that you have. So you can either bring in champions that have their own prowesses, and you're not going to have to deal with unstoppable, or you can just bring in slow champions, and you'll be fine, right? You can just, bring in your Shang-Chi's, and you can bring in your She-Hulks, whatever, and you can do fine. There is ebb and flow knockdown, and power access and power focus too. So both of you are going to get to your level 2s quicker, but past level 2s, you can significantly slow down. Which is actually a cool thing, because that means that you can be really aggressive once you put opponent 2 bars of power, because they're really going to be hardly gaining any power. So in reality, the champions that you can use here are, you know, any champion that has access to prowess, fury, or slow. So you can use Shang-Chi, you can use She-Hulk, you can use Silver Centurion, Yellow Jacket. All of them will deal well enough. But my personal favorite when I was clearing this entire lane was King Groot. Because he's a tank, he can take a ton of block damage, he gets a ton of furies, so he can get plenty of prowesses built up as well. Additionally, you can bring in Apocalypse with like Cable, because Apocalypse would get 4 prowess, significantly reducing the duration of that Unstoppable as well. Hyperion, Herc, Magneto, Kitty, Venom, Angela, you know, White Magneto. All of those champions will do plenty of good job here as well. But don't forget that you can bring in Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, and a whole plethora of other champions. Its main thing there is to understand the fight. I did absolutely enjoy King Groot here, though. I can't lie. I absolutely enjoyed King Groot. Right, that is about it. As I said, we don't have 3 different bosses to break down. I can quickly give some of the, you know, recommendations, as in like Human Torch, Venom, Ultron. Who else does really great here? Black Widow, Clairvoyant is amazing for this. And I'm sure you guys have, you know, seen and heard about the rest of the champions. The base idea is if you have buffs and debuffs, then you're going to be rolling and doing great. But I will have a link to video guide for this Kang fight in the video description. Now that's it. I'm finally done with Act 7, guys. Not a single one more. I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all